Lily just gave her stepsister, an AI robot, a small shove, and her family sent her straight to the brutal Elite Behavioral Institute. They had her reprogrammed for 3 years. After 3 years, they thought she'd come back obedient and docile, just like that machine. They got their wish. She was so obedient she was like a wooden puppet, completely ignoring them. They kept calling her name, over and over, but there was no response. Then a staff member told them the truth. The only way to turn her on was to speak her assigned code, 1314. The old woman could barely believe it, but she faced the girl and said the code, telling her to power on. To their utter shock, the real, human girl stood up, just like a robot. She announced she was powered on and asked for a directive. Her brother, out of some twisted curiosity, spoke the code and ordered her to bark like a dog. He never expected his once lively sister would actually do it. She cupped her hands and let out a bark. The three of them stood there, completely stunned, but they didn't think too hard about it. They just assumed the correction had finally made her compliant. They figured she could get along with the robot sister now. They were completely oblivious to the fact that they had utterly destroyed her life. The mother casually asked the girl how school had been. The girl simply replied that a question was not a valid command and she couldn't answer. She told the woman to rephrase the question as a direct order. The three of them were frozen again. With no other choice, the old woman said the code and ordered her to answer the question. Sure enough, the girl immediately responded. She said the past 3 years at the institute had been very fulfilling. She had mastered absolute obedience, rational control, and self-regulation, finishing at the top of her class. The instructor had labeled her the year's most successful case study. What came next shocked them even more about her total transformation. When they got home, all three rushed inside to greet the robot daughter, but Lily just froze at the doorstep because she hadn't been given a command. They all went to the dining room to eat without even noticing she hadn't followed. The old woman had to rush back out to find her, only to see the girl standing in the exact same spot. She had to say the code and command her to follow. Only then did the girl walk inside. But at the table, she just sat there and wouldn't eat. The old woman called her name for ages, but there was still no response. It was the old man who figured it out. He said the code and ordered her to eat. The command was received, and the girl immediately picked up a piece of green pepper and put it in her mouth. Her brother's face was a picture of shock, because Lily had always been a picky eater who hated green pepper, but he quickly decided her lack of fussiness was just an act. He immediately slid a plate of peanuts over and told her to eat them. Lily was deathly allergic to peanuts, and he didn't believe she'd actually do it. But to their absolute amazement, the girl picked up a peanut and ate it. The three of them stared in disbelief. The old woman suddenly remembered that just one peanut used to make her lips swell up like sausages. Could the institute really change a person that completely? What they didn't realize was that absolute obedience didn't cancel a food allergy. Seconds later, Lily started going into anaphylactic shock from the peanuts. They cried out, asking what was wrong. It was only in that moment that the family finally understood what a monstrous thing they had done 3 years ago. They didn't know the truth about the past, either. Lily hadn't pushed that robot sister out of nowhere. After adopting the robot, the old man started calling Lily a nuisance. The old woman praised the robot for cooking, saying she was better at everything than Lily. Her brother even yelled at her for stealing his toys and said she wasn't as well behaved as the machine. Lily was so frustrated and hurt that she just shoved her. That one shove completely capsized her entire life. The very next day, her family packed her off to the Elite Behavioral Institute. They wanted to reform her until she was as obedient as a household robot. But the family had no idea that the institute was a